Turning tragedy into triumph. That is the focus of our next segment. Joining me is local author Rodney Wetzel, who found success after overcoming huge obstacles. Welcome, Rodney. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, you know, I think overall people want to know, what were you able to overcome that you were able to put into your book? We'll kind of start off that way.
I have a strange family history. I had a sister who was killed by a drunk driver. About 10 years later, I had a sister that was in a near fatal accident who was hit by a drunk driver. A few years after that, I lost a brother in a car accident, not involving a drunk driver, but bad weather. And then I wound up being hit by a drunk driver coming home from work, and it put me in the hospital in intensive care, of course, and they weren't sure if I was going to make it or not. So I was in a lot of physical problems, a lot of physical pain, and very depressed, and I couldn't drive or anything, so I was just sitting thinking about all the stuff that was going on, and I knew I had to pull myself out of it. And I had worked with people with disabilities. That's what I did for a living before I started this new job, and I knew I had to do something. I had to get busy doing something, so I dug out an old story that I had been working on, dusted it off, and I said, I'm going to write my first novel. So I just spent all my time, all my concentration on the novel. And even though the book itself is a horror novel, it's really a book of love, because my family was encouraging me to work on it. I think they were tired of me complaining and just wanted me to find something to occupy my time. But it really helped me get over all of that, and it really brought me back to well, never normal, but a better state than I was, yes.
What do you think it was about writing that was able to do that for you?
I had to concentrate so much on what I was doing in the book, because you go into another world when you're writing a book. You spend a lot of time thinking about characters in the book, and it really took my mind off of all my troubles. I mean, I was truly blessed. I'm lucky to be here. My insurance had actually kicked in at midnight the morning of that accident.
Really?
So a lot of blessings, but it really just occupied my mind, so I didn't sit there and sink into depression. Yeah. It really helped bring me back out, and then in 1999, I moved down to Florida. I got over my fear of driving, because before, you know, I wouldn't drive, and if somebody else drive, I kept hiding under the, you know, the dash, so I wouldn't see them drive. With all my family history and everything, I just had a real fear. They said I had post-traumatic stress from the accident.
Well, you know, one of the things, we're already kind of running out on time. One of the things I do want to say real quickly, though, that was interesting, this book has actually been on the back burner literally for 20 years, and you just now decided to get it out, or your wife.
Yes, my wife.
Why did you get it out and get it published now, and what can people at home expect?
Well, I had an agent. It didn't go anywhere. I put the book away. My wife dug it out, and behind my back actually started contacting publishers. Good for her. She found one. We submitted the book. They liked it. So it was like, wow, out of the blue, after all this time. I touched it up, and it's out on the streets, and people are buying it.
I was going to say, so it's a horror story, but it's made out of love. It's a tragedy, triumph story. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Best of luck.